Okay, the first thing we're jumping to the Nasdaq. Sorry guys, today's video is a little bit different. We're recording on the go, a little bit on vacation. So let's jump into this. Now, first of all, we came back into our previous highs that we have had mentioned around 19.95 on the unrolled futures. Futures have started rolling over, so we'll go into that here in the next few days and weeks. But again, Nasdaq coming back down into some pretty key levels. Again, the previous high right there, coming right into that level as mentioned. Pretty interesting volume on the day, but again, finding buying power. Now, this is not the interesting part of the day. This is the interesting part of the day, is when you go look at the Dow, because all day long, the Dow continued to show power, strength, and everything that you wanted to see. Dow pushing back into that high that we mentioned if you watched the video on Tuesday, pushing back into that target again, back around 39.6, 39.7. And again, if you look at the rolled over futures, which some of you might have to be looking at the rolled over ones for June's, the new June contracts, again, you can see you're coming into this little bit of resistance up here, 39.2, 39.3. You get over this, and I think you're off to the races, but you're breaking back above 39K on the Dow. So overall, I still think you look really good. Simplifying this into the Qs and what's happening there, you can still see where we are well above some of these levels as well. Like again, we look at Qs. You didn't even retest previous highs. You're finding buying. Now we want to see us start getting back above, 482, 42.5. That's where we want to get there. Going into SPY again, you got the breakout this morning above previous highs, but we couldn't hold that overall level. So again, these are things that we want to see. Now volume did step in. As you can see, we started to push up, but again, you started seeing sellers step back in, pushing us back to the downside. Now I will say most of this downside happened when we started seeing semiconductors cool off rapidly throughout the day. You saw tech get a little bit of a pullback, but I still think it's holding up very well near all-time highs. But you go to look at some of those sectors we've been mentioning, like financials, booming. We go look at industrials, which in my opinion are kind of scary, but still booming, holding up. XLV, healthcare, guess what? Performing well. Broad-based markets, XLY, consumer discretionary, doing pretty well. Amazon, great looking name on the day. You're seeing Tesla also trying to creep up, trying to hold up. So this was very interesting action, because if we look broad market, you would say, okay, this is bad. But when we really look, and let's just spread this over so you can really see, there wasn't, with the exception of semis, again, I will say semis got a pullback, but they also opened up very strong on the day. I don't think it was that bad, personally speaking, okay? Again, you look at Apple, down about 2% on the day, back down 209.6. We want to see a 207 touch for long, get more longs there. But Meta finished green. Netflix finished down 1%, if that. Amazon finished green, up to almost 2%. CrowdStrike kind of flat, around 2%, right? Really volatile name worth mentioning. AMD green 4.6%, Microsoft down 0.14%, right? So again, these are things you have to be looking at. So we have a lot of names that I want to talk about and go over today, and why I think there is opportunity broad-based in the market, okay? And this is things that we've been looking at. Now, also going in, though, we do have, going into tomorrow, you have some manufacturing data, some PMI. So some inflation data coming out, and we have existing home sales. I want to see home sales perk to the upside, because again, we saw 30-year mortgages drop once again, near 6.8% on the day. Really good overall for the market. Also, too, guys, if you're not following, I recommend following on Twitter all day long. If it's not me posting memes, then it's me posting sectors, stocks I'm interested in, what I'm looking to trade in the market, things along those lines, all free for you. So yeah, let me make this really quick, because again, today's video, obviously, I'm trying to jump in and out. So let me really quick. Okay, so I've been in the car for the better part of the day, but I want to just explain some of my logic that's going into this. Number one, we've been waiting for this, and we saw this type of action happen last year around the same time, going into summer, May, June. And then we also saw, inflation kind of become an issue, came stickier going into July through maybe September. Now, we still think inflation data is going to be good over the next few days and weeks, just based on what's already happened. That's my personal opinion. We'll see what happens if data starts to tweak and gets more sticky. Then again, you take a step back, no harm, no foul. And so that's where we're at right now. Now, when I look at the market, there's a few areas I do like. Now, one stock that I'm liking right now specifically is something like Target. And I can't go into a lot of examples or use movement today just because I'm on the go, I'm on my laptop. So those are things to think about. Now, I also still think when we look at something like Apple, long-term, it still looks really good. I'm looking for that 207, 206 level, and then going back for 220s, maybe even for January. Again, we've had multiple trade opportunities where we've made 30 to 40% on that type of trade. But when we get these deep pullbacks, I think it sets up opportunities. Then we go into something like NVIDIA, and we go into semiconductors there. which I don't think we've had great opportunities for longer dated positions, especially with the split. So ideally, we'd like to see more of a push down to like 120 on NVIDIA, and then position ourselves maybe for 140s, maybe 150s for even 2026. And I know some people are like, well, that's just like way out of my range, and I'm not looking to trade that far out. Then that's just you. I'm just trying to explain my logic and what I'm looking for here. I also think names like Netflix, which I talked about on Tuesday, still very strong. You held near 680. Like, it's kind of crazy when you think about it. We look at the Nasdaq. I think it opened the market around like 20,380. It dropped over 400 points on the downside. Like, really, like, conceptualize. We dropped 400 points on the Nasdaq, and XLK names are down like 1.5%. I mean, the big shots were things like SMCI and NVIDIA. Those are the big ones that got hit. But broad-based markets still look really good. So it's important that we're unbiased with the way that we're looking at this. Now, I'm totally on the team of if inflation data perks back to the downside and starts becoming concerning again, then I step back in the view of like, okay, slow down, don't get crazy, especially with elections going on in September. But when I look at broad-based markets and I look at the pullback opportunity we're getting on something like Apple, and we know with Apple, for instance, July is its best performing month. So I just like these overall names and I like the setups, and I have to be ready for those setups, because if we zoom out and we take a step back to the past few months, I'm all about opportunity. That's the name of the game. That's how I make my money in the market. That is just it. Patience and opportunity. And when we take a step back and we look, it's important to understand that how we made money on CrowdStrike, on Lululemon, on ZS, on PanW, on Apple, on AVGO, LRCX, on Net. I can go on a laundry list of names. How we made our money was patience on those positions. The only one that was maybe a little bit aggressive might have been Apple, but the fact that Apple pushed to 205 and then dipped down to 196 was like pure. It was just free money. So again, nothing changes here. Like, I see this as an opportunity, and that's all I do. So again, I'll have an update for you guys later. More stuff on Twitter, obviously. Wanted to get an update, not the normal video. We'll be back to regular business as usual on Sunday, maybe Monday. See you guys then. Have a good one, traders.